It's been a while. Originally, this channel was meant to be preserved entirely. Last video being the end of victimization. A lot's changed within that amount of time. Most recent current events with politics is the Republican vote sweep across the U.S. Everyone voicing their opinion that they want what's around them fixed. One of my final precognitions for my final predictions is based on the fact that everyone as a sum will greatly express how much everything needs to be fixed. It is now officially on the news, no problem, to entirely judge Obama and everything about his policies entirely. It's out in the open, it's no problem. And this was done by even senior citizen vote. This was done by persons who used to be called sheeple. And, like I mentioned, the revolutionists' ideas, the idea in general of the transition and everything, the New Age movement, the light workers and the truthers were out on the forefronts. That's the vision. But it's the other way. And that's how this story of unnatural circumstances ends, and the next story begins. So just as the protests began, so did the votes that allowed both the media, but also the general public, to definitely have free reign in judging their governments. Another fallout on the government's part, and Obama's part as well, it's really going to mess them up, is the India trip. It's going to be $200 million a day in taxpayer money. It's out in the open. There's really, there was really no chance, but now the assurance of no chance the government has is that apparent. In my predictions, I mentioned in graphic detail various versions of how this transition, the climax, but also the revolutionists' perception or version of how it would all lead up to a certain point. It's very different. UFO activity being perhaps the highest ever recorded in U.S. history. I do not know, but I know in October, just this previous month, obviously, you know that. It looks like every day there's a UFO sighting, and it's been uploaded to YouTube. That's what it looks like every day. China airport shut down 8th time due to mothership. They're almost saying as though it's like there's that mothership again. Very casual. 2 armadas in the States, 2 days apart, within 5 days to a week's time from this present date, November 3rd. The sun activity is consistently getting more and more different. Underground Believers channel, or the Believers Underground, Scott Bug, he's on top of the earthquakes, sinkholes. Okay, as far as the work that I've done, my documentations, my main, my primary, the primary of my documentations is focused around vital signs, documenting reactions, responses to certain questions, calibrating considerations of others, but a tremendous amount of data. The movies have exceeded far more than I've imagined, the last one being Monolithicalism 5, Altalicism, or Monolithicalism 4, the 5th one being The Legend of Irony. Again, these movies are meant for the time after the transition. They're not meant for this time. They would not have. They would be very substantial. People would enjoy them to a pretty fair degree, but they're literally based on when everyone knows what's up, knows what's going on, what had been going on, the history of what had been going on, the history of this universe, the common functions of kind of how all universes work. There's certain things known about even very intense things, even existences. There's certain things that can be known, but from there it's uniquely described by the existence, and you have to go within that existence, that universe, to experience what's the difference. Every single universe in existence, infinite as scientists say, and it's true, are distinctly unique. And this keeps it very unique. This keeps it very amazing and exciting. So with predictions, it's all closing in. This is what you call the clash point. I mentioned at some point there's going to be a clash point. You're going to have the political heat. You're going to have the political situation of Obama and the government closing in, and you're going to have UFOs. You're going to have a month of perhaps the most recorded amount of UFOs in U.S. history. It's possible. October's been nonstop. And first contact. This has been documented in my videos probably 4 to 5 times. 3 to 4 at least. Now 5. Now 4 to 5. So my predictions are surrounded by being realistic, but again, having enough information and then seeing how all these different occurrences are going to affect each other. I mean, the calibrations are exhausting, but you know enough about the government, you know enough about the economy, and the suggestion of an existence or life. Don't even have to be as complicated as, what's the interaction process going to be like with this existence in universe? No, you could simplify it, quotes simplified as that, life is going to liberate us. Everyone's focus is ETs liberating us or ourselves liberating ourselves. And both are actually happening. The process is entirely different, as everyone has documented. Entirely different. I mean, revolutionists never thought sheeple, quote sheeple, would bring such a thing, and that's what happened. I don't know of any revolutionists on the news. I don't know of any of them out there on the front lines. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there is, but they're not nearly as substantial as the quote sheeple, and that's the irony here, which is why the next movie in the making is The Legend of Irony. Literally. It's not just a word, it's not just a term. When you realize what irony is, you're going to see why it's so profound and so prolific. It's just living is life. It's not equivalent to life, but it's an asset of life, no doubt. Life would definitely consider irony an absolute. Absolutely. Interaction levels right now, at some point, it wasn't, I guess, realistic for anyone to be able to interact with what's going on. The third band of light from the Red Star Nebula, 600 plus light years from here, had reached by November 2nd, today being the 3rd. I've defined interaction being the primary in realizing, because to interact means that you know enough to be able to interact, and of course that makes sense, but you apply this to dimensions. There's your debunk. There's 33 dimensions in this universe. All of them are capable of being interacted with. There's not a process of one dimension occurs at this time, another dimension occurs in another. On a global level, when most persons have a general thought of a general idea, that becomes the general acceptance level. That acceptance level cross-lining with interaction level. So you have both sides of the general potential everyone has and interaction level, and you have the general limitation and interaction level. Now, within the amount of time that third light band got here, what happened? Overnight, Republican sweep. Everyone's voice is heard. Government fallout. They have nowhere to go. I mentioned this. This is a sense of security, and that word and term will mean a great deal to you in these coming times. That the ETs that were helping, the dark ETs helping the dark ETs here. The ETs here remain here. Only if they succeed does it change. It does not change any other way. And as you can see, they don't have anything really desperate to use anymore. They kind of they're just now kind of just waiting in water, until it fills. They're unable to move. I mean, it's stalemate. It doesn't even have to be checkmate. I mean, it's checkmate either way, but stalemate, or just for the fun of it, let's just let the king move across the chessboard. We got 4 or 5 queens. It's over. You know what I mean? We're not going to go by the chess rules because it's like 15 or 16 moves with the king, and then you win. No, that's not. That's chess rules. Metaphor, massively different, of course. Recently, with a friend, looked into some details with a speaker. What's his name? David Clare, something like that. Clare. He states that he had interactions with the Andromedans. Has extensive knowledge of the Draconians. This government. You might know who I'm talking about now. It was interesting to see a video made in 1994 to make it seem a little on the hysteria or hysterical side. I'm not sure if getting those words properly vocalized there, but there was a sense of hysteria in his tone, and like the future to come. This was a 1994 video, and it was saying government to attack in 2001, an exclamation point. So obviously there was a big knowing on what happened then. 2001 being the primary date of a lot of precognitions. Nostradamus' precognition, a lot of songs relating to 9/11. That was the date that was supposed to start it all for the world government. I mean, it's a big piece in Revelations as well, because after that certain point, you're supposed to have global police, you're supposed to have police state, martial law. We're supposed to be in England, surveillance cams, maybe a year or two after that certain point. It's supposed to be just a non-stop chain reaction of government power. We aren't seeing that. The whole world's still protesting, and you have the Democrats fallout. The Democrats, I'm thinking, which is probably true, being the main issue with government, but of course both sides being the issue. But the people's interest is all the same. Fix this, and that means even if their votes are going to show as their intentions not being acknowledged, it's going to be recognized, and it's going to be that much harder on those persons. So there's really no more room for this basically government conspiracy. I mean, there's just really not much more room. The only room they have is on the is behind the curtain, like well behind the curtain, Bohemian Grove behind the curtain and stuff. Maybe not to that degree, but Vatican. You'll learn about the 5 levels, the hive underneath the Vatican. There's so many things that it was, but the government. Okay, so. The other video, my friend's finally, he finally realizes who the Illuminati is, the reptilians, everything. So within like 5 days, he now realizes it's highly possible that there's humans on this planet that have not only met other races, but could be other races. The other one now knowing of the Illuminati, the brainwashing, food, FEMA, etc. Pretty much everything under the sun. He did recognize, because I was watching the video with him, I was throwing some debunks along the way. It's an Alex Jones video, so there's a lot of words like demons, demonize, UFOs referred as demons and only demons. That's the only thing accepted. Some Revelation quotes. Fear factor, basically. A little bit of shock and awe, too. Alex Jones is professional, but he always leaves traces of shock and awe and fear. A very deranged fear, also. It looks very deliberate, and also feels very Illuminati-like. So his story, whatever, but most I would say most persons know the story behind Alex, because he's really good at what he does, and it's kind of helped more towards our cause than the government's cause. So I don't know what they expect to get with Alex, but Alex, whatever your ideas were, you helped, and whatever you were trying to twist, it didn't do it. Quote sheeple, brought America back, in a sense, you could say. America is pretty much back. The polls speak for themselves, and you've got to understand, any type of government heist at this point means that people are going to recognize more and hit that much harder. The news will follow the people. I mentioned this in my predictions that at some point the people are going to reach a point where the news media will pretty much have no choice but to favor the people, but would also want to favor the people, because to favor the government means they're going to sink and be as obvious as the government is.